Sparta, ancient Sparta, has a reputation that echoes through time. Warriors armed with bronze and iron, leaping into battle with shields held high, charging forth to the stirring notes of war drums, glorious and invincible. History remembers them indeed, their martial spirit, their legendary deeds at places like Thermopylae. Sparta was made for war, and the Spartans excelled on the field of battle. But what does history tell us about the flip side? What was everyday life like? For most people, daily life for a Spartan man, woman, or child was more than just drills, strategy, and fighting. Oh yes, you have landed in a military state. The most important thing is obedience. Obey your father, obey your elders, obey your teachers, and when you're old enough, obey your officers. Disobedience means leaving the group without permission, forgetting your duty, dropping your shield, or losing your spear. And disobedience can get you beaten, not with sticks or whips, but with sharp pieces of iron, sharp enough to make scars. Spartans saw scars as badges of honor, so your scars become part of your story, part of who you are. But sometimes they're just part of pain. At 7 years old, you are considered a man in training. Your childhood ends. You leave home and your mother and live in a barracks with other young men. Now your new parents are the state and your teachers, the paedonomos. You learn to be strong. You eat very little and you sleep on reed mats. At night you huddle with other boys for warmth. And if anyone dares to be a little bit weak, he gets beaten. If you cannot endure pain, you are worthless. You learn to fight with swords and spears. You practice throwing the javelin, running, jumping, wrestling. One of your favorite activities is hunting wild animals, hunting deer, wild boars, foxes, rabbits, anything that moves. But mostly you hunt birds. Their feathers add color to your drab clothes. Their wings and skins you use to make quivers for arrows. You also hunt with nets. Some people say hunting is cruel, but in Sparta, everyone hunts. Even girls do. They learn to throw a javelin as well as boys. They also learn to ride horses. The girls stay with their mothers until they're 18. They live a stricter life, but not as strict as boys. Girls in Sparta are freer. They don't have as many rules to follow. When you're 20 years old, you are considered a full Spartan. You still have much to learn. Now you learn to be a soldier. War is always around the corner. You practice battle formations, how to march, how to use a shield, how to fight with a sword and spear. If you are skilled, you may become an instructor after more training. At age 30, you face a test. Do you have what it takes to be a soldier? Are you strong enough, brave enough? After another decade of training, you become eligible to join the elite force known as the Hippies. These are the best soldiers. They own horses and ride into battle. To join them is every soldier's dream, but few are chosen. If you aren't picked, you continue to train younger soldiers. Your life as a soldier goes on, maybe for decades. Battles come and go, victories, defeats, but you keep training the next generation. Being a Spartan soldier means you live for the state. You have no time for family. You may have children, but they are raised by others. Women in Sparta have a better deal than women in most city-states. They are educated and strong. They are expected to be good at sports and music too, but mainly they are educated to be good wives and mothers. Spartan women are free to walk around the city uncovered, which is not the case in other city-states. Men cover up because they think it is shameful to show their bodies. But Spartan women think it's shameful to hide them. Spartan women have more rights than women anywhere else. They can vote, own property, manage businesses, attend public events. Slaves called helots do most of the work in Sparta. There are 3 classes in Sparta, the first being the ephors. These are the leaders, 5 men elected each year from the 3 tribes. They run the government and make laws. Then come the Spartiates. These are the full Spartan citizens, the true Spartans. There are about 8,000 of them. They own property and have some wealth, but most of all, they are soldiers. Finally, there are the periodico, merchants, traders, artisans, farmers. They are allowed to own property and pass it on to their children, but they cannot leave the city or vote. Below these three classes are the helots, the slaves. Helots do the work that Spartans do not want to do. They farm the land, cook meals, take care of homes. Spartans enslave people from nearby city-states, people they conquer in war. Every Spartan male is a slave owner. Slaves do all the work, and Spartans take their share of the profits. Spartans do not worry about money, though. They hate money. Money is for foreigners, people who love luxury. Spartans do not need luxuries. They need weapons and food, but they are not interested in making money. That is why their neighbors grow wealthy while Sparta stays poor. Sometimes Spartans wonder if they're missing out on something by living such a simple life, but they're too afraid to ask questions. Spartan society is not a place where people ask questions. Questions are for foreigners. Spartans know that they have the best way of life, the strongest military. They don't need anything that foreigners have. They especially hate luxury. Luxury means softness. Softness is the enemy of Sparta. Spartans want strong bodies and clear minds. They want people who can endure. They want to make sure that their citizens are ready for anything. The Spartan diet is designed to create strong, hardy people. Boys eat with their groups. They eat very little, and the portions are the same for everyone. As a boy, you learn to steal extra food, but if you get caught stealing, you get beaten. Girls eat with their mothers. They eat slightly more than boys, but the portions are still the same. Girls and women must be strong so they can bear healthy babies. In general, Spartans eat very plain food. Most of their meals consist of vegetables, but meat is eaten during special occasions. Spartans believe that eating too much makes people lazy and slow. And remember, Spartans are supposed to be quick and efficient. Eating lots of vegetables makes them light and nimble. It's not fun to eat vegetables, but Spartans don't care about fun. Music is everywhere in Sparta, but Spartans listen to music differently. They play music to inspire courage, bravery, strength. Music motivates the warrior spirit. Spartans use music to remind themselves that they are superior. Every Spartan knows and loves a special song about his ancestors. He learns it as a boy and sings it with a group. Each tribe has its own song, but all Spartans know the Song of Sparta. It's a song about bravery, about facing danger and coming back alive. It's a song about strength, about endurance, about being the best. All Spartans know that their way of life is worth protecting, and they sing songs to make sure that doesn't change. Life in Sparta isn't easy. Daily life is filled with rules, customs, traditions, obligations. You must prove yourself again and again. Your body must be stronger tomorrow than it is today. Sparta is built on hard work. You must constantly strive to be your best. You must push yourself. Life in Sparta is tough, but remember, it's also fair. Everyone does the same tasks. Everyone endures the same hardships. Everyone suffers the same pains. But everyone also wins the same rewards. The handsome armor, the thrill of battle, the respect of your peers. Life in Sparta is not just tough, it's also simple. Your life has a rhythm. You wake up with the sun, you train. You march, you fight, you eat. You sleep early. Your life is duty, honor, country. Life in Sparta is not perfect, but it is pure. And if you're a Spartan man, you will do whatever it takes to preserve it that way. Your life may seem harsh compared to others, but you know you are part of something bigger, something more important. You are a Spartan. That means you are disciplined. It means you are brave. It means you are prepared. It means you are ready for anything. And that, above all, is power. What would you have done to prepare yourself for the day you became a man? Would you have trained harder? Would you have fought more battles? Would you have endured more pain? Or would you have looked for a way out? Let us know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. What does a name mean? A label bestowed, an essence revealed, a sound that strikes the ear. And how do we hear it tonight? Not loudly, not in the way kings are often remembered. His legacy is whispered, like the wind through spear shafts, shaped more by what we imagine than what we truly know. So let us find him. In the stillness, if you stand in the center of this circle, you are surrounded by ghosts. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, some bare, some shrouded, all silent. They seem to rise only when you move, vanishing if you stop. Who are they? Soldiers, scholars, servants, kings. Names lost to time, preserved only as shadows. But in the stillness, they speak to us. Of a kingdom that thrived for centuries in these hills, nestled in the northeast corner of the Peloponnese. It was a place apart, a society that lived by its own rules, cherished its traditions, trained its young to be fierce. Theirs was a life of duty and honor, defined by limits, balanced on the edge of self-control. Their art is gone, their architecture fallen, but the stories remain, sung by bards and written by outsiders. Here in the valley of the Eurotas River, 300 men held off an invading horde, a select few invincible. They were called the Agoge, and were about to join them. This is Sparta. You don't need a king to make a kingdom. At least Sparta seemed to think so for 250 years. From somewhere between 900 and 700 BC, Sparta's first kings came to power and ruled over a people known as the Dorians. We do not know much about them, only that they became conquerors, expanding their borders into Laconia and Messenia, subjugating local tribes and selling many into slavery. For centuries, slaves provided the labor needed for a growing population and a thriving economy. In the process, a rigid hierarchy emerged. Full citizens made up the top tier, including men, women, and children who shared in political and economic life. Below them were non-citizen residents, mostly foreigners who lived in Sparta but couldn't vote. Then came the Helots, the subjugated natives of Messenia, who provided agricultural labor in exchange for limited freedoms and some rights. Finally, at the bottom were the slaves, without citizenship, rights, or even full humanity. As far as we can tell, there was no real equality. Spartan society was stratified from the start, and yet for most of its existence, it worked. Sparta thrived. It lasted, and that says something about its organization, its culture, its goals. It may not have been perfect, but it was stable. Sparta didn't want your wealth. Not really. True power comes from within, they believed. The arts, the comforts, the distractions, those were weaknesses, temptations that led to decadence. And so Sparta ruled with austerity, not caring for monuments or material excess. Most famously, they abandoned elaborate coinage. Instead, they weighed out silver and bronze by hand. But that's a small example of a larger mindset. You would not come to Sparta to retire wealthy. You would come to train strong. The Agoge was open to all Spartan boys at age 7. They were raised communally, living together, learning together, enduring together. This was their life. They were stripped of comfort and luxury. They slept outdoors, ate sparingly, dressed plainly. At 12, they began formal training, learning to read and write, studying music and poetry, practicing athletics. They learned to throw a spear, wrestle, box, run, jump. Everything was a competition. Everything was judged. The strongest, the fastest, the bravest, they were recognized, rewarded, given more responsibility. Rewards were not gold or glory, but a chance to lead, to teach, to prove yourself again. By 18, they were expected to be self-sufficient and independent, physically and emotionally. By 20, they were considered men, free to marry, but still obligated to serve. The Agoge was not just about making better soldiers. It was about making better citizens. In theory, any Spartan male could be called to defend the state. In practice, the Agoge prepared the elite few. At 30, they were eligible to serve in the military, where promotion depended entirely on merit. A simple soldier could rise to general. Victories were celebrated, defeats punished. Obedience, courage, and loyalty were paramount. If anyone was found lacking, they were sent home. Warriors could be demoted to farming. Officers could be stripped of rank and property. But most important, everyone had a role. Women were not secluded, but active in society. They managed households, attended public events, even competed in festivals. Wealthy helots supported everyone else. Slaves were considered property, but sometimes inherited. More than anything, though, Sparta was structured for war. Every male citizen served until 60 when they were replaced by their sons. Annual campaigns were mandatory. Battles were the crucible. In fact, Sparta's entire identity was shaped by conflict, first against their rivals, the Argives, Corinthians, and Thebans, and then against the Persians, who threatened the entire Greek world. During the latter, Sparta forged alliances, most notably with Athens, to form the backbone of resistance. It was a strange partnership, two powerful but fundamentally opposed states united only by the common enemy. Nonetheless, it worked. With Athenian sea power and Spartan land forces, the Greeks won decisive victories, pushing the Persians back to Asia Minor. Peace returned. Sparta remained vigilant, but Athens grew proud. Over time, the two powers drifted apart, eventually into war. The Peloponnesian War pitted Sparta against Athens and their respective allies. It was devastating, draining both sides. Athens lost in the end, but Sparta was changed by the experience. The war had forced them to expand their empire, to fight abroad, to rule over subjects. Victory had made them like their rivals once were, rich, powerful, and proud. It lasted less than 2 decades, though. The Spartans, like the Athenians before them, had grown too big for their borders. Their empire fractured, revolted, collapsed, and soon the rest of Greece would follow. Sparta's golden age was over, its greatest days behind it. Ancient Sparta is long gone, but that doesn't mean it's meaningless. Its ghost lives on in Hollywood blockbusters, video games, historical reenactments, and our ideas of stoicism, and discipline, and our concepts of strength and virtue. But amidst the fantasy and fan service, we must remember the real history. How a fierce, uncompromising society not only thrived for centuries, but inspired awe in its contemporaries, leaving us today with more questions than answers. What is true freedom? How is power maintained? And who decides what is strength? Sparta did, and in doing so, gave us a glimpse into a world unlike our own. A world where 300 men stood defiant, not because they could win, but because they had to. You'll hardly find their names carved in stone. There's no monuments or marble. But if you listen carefully, if you're willing to hear the truth, their voices will whisper to you across the ages. Not of conquest or crusade, but of a choice made, a path walked, a life lived. And as the echoes fade, we turn our attention to the next mystery. Another name, another legend, another lifetime. It is a story that begins with death. This was a place for intense mental discipline, for controlling your emotions. And nothing was more dangerous than letting fear show. I'm the host. Today we're going to talk about Spartan women. Welcome to my channel, where we tell the stories of ancient Greece from the people who lived it. We all know Spartans as super soldiers, right? Perfectly engineered killing machines with zero tolerance for weakness. Well, the truth is more complex than that. Spartans sure like to sell that image. That much is clear. But we need to remember the difference between propaganda and reality. Because while we can look at a Spartan woman and see her muscular, athletic form, while we can observe her shocking freedom of speech, her right to own property, to participate in politics, to run a business, her ability to veto a marriage, proposal, even her right to choose her husband from a selection of suitors, all of which is pretty revolutionary for ancient Greece. Let's also consider what this might have cost her. What does it mean to be so free? How could that ever be bought? And who exactly was buying it? Let's start with the mothers. This is a bronze mirror with a wooden handle, found in an elite Spartan woman's tomb. Its surface is tarnished, its wood worn smooth, and it gives us a glimpse into the personality of Helena of Sparta, a woman whose status is proven by the burial she received, but whose face is lost to time. This mirror would have been used carefully. Mirrors were expensive. They were imported from abroad. They were made of metal, sometimes glass. They had to be cleaned. They had to be polished. And yet this one was carried around by one of the most privileged women in Sparta. She would have been part of the ruling class. She would have been educated alongside her brother. She would have learned music and poetry and athletics. Her father would have introduced her to potential husbands, most likely her cousins. BECS Spartans practiced a kind of incest taboo, marrying outside their extended family to avoid polluting the bloodline. And she would have prepared for her role as a mother, the greatest role of all. In Sparta, the mother was everything. She was the key to the city's survival. So while Spartan men went out and conquered, it was the women who stayed behind and passed on their culture. She was responsible for turning a boy into a man, an awkward, untrained youth into a soldier, ready and willing to fight and die for Sparta. And to achieve this, she was equipped with weapons. In fact, the only educational requirement to become a female Spartan was knowing how to use a sword. Every girl knew how to read and write. They had access to poetry and literature and philosophy, and they used this education to turn their sons into the perfect instruments of Spartan power. At age 7, a Spartan boy left home to join a military school. He didn't return until he was 30, a fully trained killer. And in the meantime, his mother kept the flame of Sparta burning in him. She taught him how to be worthy of his ancestors. She trained him, tested him, reminded him why he fought. She was his rock. She was his foundation. And with every new generation, she did this over and over and over, shaping young boys into hard-edged tools, keeping the Spartan ideal alive. And yet, if we look closely at the artifacts buried with Spartan women, we see a lot of children. There are small beds, little stools, tiny couches, even miniature versions of adult furniture. And they tell us about another side of the mother, a softer side, a caring, nurturing side. Here she was queen, not of a city, but of a home. Here she ruled over a domain of children, of pets, of servants. Her house was decorated with furniture and artwork. Her walls were painted with scenes from mythology. And while her son was off learning how to be a man, she learned how to be a woman. She hosted parties, she wove cloth, she engaged in politics. She was active in every aspect of public life, and she made sure that when her son returned, both as a man and as a soldier, he returned to a home. A place of warmth, of familiarity, of love, but that's not all. While she loved her son, she had to learn to let go of him too. As the mother of a Spartan man, she had to raise him to be independent, self-sufficient, ready to sacrifice himself for the good of Sparta. So while she was the anchor of his existence, she also had to make him untethered, able to function without her. And this was a balancing act, an incredible balancing act. The world was dangerous for a Spartan woman. Her value was tied directly to her relationship with men, first as a daughter, then as a sister, a wife, a mother. She had to prove herself in every one of these roles. And yet at the same time, she could never do anything alone. She needed other women. She needed a support system. She needed allies. Because while Spartan women were freer than most, they were far from equal. Take this decorated vase found in a courtyard at the sanctuary of Artemis Orthia. On one side, two women in the prime of their lives attend to a third woman who's seated. They're talking, laughing. It looks like a casual moment between friends, and yet we have to wonder, what are they saying? What are they discussing? Is it a casual chat about household affairs? Is it a serious conversation about a coming marriage? Is it gossip? Maybe. All of these things? The only thing we know for certain is that this scene is being observed by three men, all older and all staring intently at the women, and this is disturbing. Just like in neighboring Laconia in Sparta, it was considered shameful for a man to be seen in public with women unless they were prostitutes. And this is a painting inside a tomb. It's a private space, a sacred space, a place where the artist had complete freedom to paint whatever he wanted. And yet, even here, men are watching women. Even here, women are not safe. If we look at another vase painting from a tomb, we see a woman surrounded by four men. One of them holds a flower. Another points to something in the distance. A third holds a wreath. And the fourth is gently touching the woman's shoulder. The artist is telling us something here. The man closest to her is dressed like everyone else, but he's the only one with a helmet on, and this suggests that this is not a casual meeting. This is a structured event. These men have come for this woman. They've come to take her somewhere, and we can assume that nowhere good awaits her. This is a ritual of passage, and we don't know if it's one she's willingly participating in or not, but clearly this woman is not safe. I'm going to say something shocking. Prepare yourself. Drum roll, please. The stunningly athletic Spartan woman with her headdress and her red shawl. The one we usually picture first when we think about Spartan women, she's almost certainly a myth. The earliest written sources that describe her are either untalented copyists or lying propagandists. That's it. Either way, they're not reliable. But I'll admit that even though it seems unlikely that Spartan women regularly competed in the nude, this image has stuck. Why? Because it makes a point. It shows us that Spartan women exercised, yes, but it also strips them of their identity. It reduces them to objects. It turns them into exotic spectacles. It reminds us that even if these women were strong, free, educated, well-respected, none of that mattered if you didn't respect them as individuals. If they were simply things to be gawked at, simply props in a masculine power fantasy, then they were nothing. Spartan women were people with hopes and dreams and fears and desires, people who sat at the center of their society, holding it together, raising the very men who were meant to tear it apart. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to get more stories of ancient Greece delivered straight to you. You have walked through a Spartan boy's barracks. You have felt the chill of winter on the road between Athens and Sparta. You've watched an aged king prepare for battle and sat beside a queen in her silent court. And now you're here at last at the very heart of Sparta, the sanctuary of Artemis Orthia, the place where boys faced their greatest fear and where Spartan silence found its voice. Around you, the air is thick with anticipation. In front of you, a stone altar stands bathed in the pale glow of dawn. Behind you, the solemn faces of Spartan elders, their eyes reflecting both pride and anxiety. Beside you, the initiates, their bodies tense with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Before them, an offering awaits, a goat symbolizing the wildness they are about to conquer. And then he is there, the helot, his face obscured by the shaggy bull hide, his voice echoing with menace and intrigue. He stands as the embodiment of the Spartan's greatest fear, the helot who taunts and goads, the untamed force of nature that threatens to shatter the fragile peace of the polis. His presence is a stark reminder of the chaos that lies just beyond Sparta's fortified walls. A chaos that threatens to engulf the entire world if the sacred bonds of order and discipline are broken. The helot speaks, his words like stones cast into a still pond, rippling outward and echoing the fears that echo within each initiate's heart. He challenges them to confront not just the untamed beast within, but the unsettling truth that lies at the core of Spartan society. For the Helots' words are not mere taunts, but a reflection of the Spartans' deepest anxieties, the nagging doubt that whispers that the Helot might rise up, that the cries of the oppressed might become a roar, and that the carefully constructed world of Sparta could crumble into the same untamed chaos that they are about to face. With bated breath, you watch as the first Spartan boy steps forward, his youthful face set with a determined calm that belies the turmoil within. As he raises his hand to strike, the healer holds his breath, caught between fear and fascination, watching as the first blow connects. A collective gasp escapes the onlookers, a testament to the raw courage on display. This is more than a test of physical prowess. It is a confrontation with the primal forces of human nature, a struggle to maintain order in the face of chaos, to tame the beast within before it consumes the very essence of Sparta. As the ceremony continues, you find yourself increasingly drawn into the drama unfolding before you. Each strike of the lash, each cry of pain, and each defiant yell from the healer adds another layer to the complex tapestry of Spartan life. You begin to understand that this is not just a ritual, but a microcosm of the Spartan ethos, a display of controlled aggression, unwavering discipline, and an unflinching commitment to order and duty. Amidst the tension, you notice the stoic figures of the elders, their impassive faces betraying little emotion, their eyes reflecting the solemnity of the moment. They are not merely spectators. They are the guardians of Sparta's traditions, the keepers of its history, and the protectors of its future. Their role in the ceremony goes beyond observation. It is a testament to the enduring power of tradition and the weight of responsibility that rests upon the shoulders of those who seek to preserve the delicate balance of Spartan society. But it is the Helots who truly captivate your attention. Their reactions to the ordeal, their expressions of pain and defiance, serve as a stark reminder of the fragility of human endurance and the brutal realities of life in ancient Sparta. They are not just victims. They are symbols of the ever-present threat to social order, a constant reminder of the Helots who chafe under Spartan rule. In their suffering, you witness the cost of maintaining control, the sacrifices made to uphold the rigid hierarchy that defines Spartan society. The Orthia ceremony is more than a spectacle. It is a profound exploration of the depths of human endurance, a meditation on the meaning of pain, submission, and resistance in a world defined by stark choices and unwavering discipline. As the ceremony draws to a close, you find yourself contemplating the true purpose of this ritual. What is it that Sparta fears so much? Is it the chaos that lies beyond its borders, or the darkness that stirs within its own soul? You realize that Sparta's greatest enemy is not the unruly Helots or the encroaching Persians, but the potential for anarchy that exists in every human heart. The strict codes of conduct, the emphasis on self-control, and the glorification of martial values are not just measures to ensure the survival of the polis, but a desperate attempt to keep the demons of chaos at bay. In the haunting silence that follows the ceremony, you are left to ponder the profound implications of what you have witnessed. The Orthia celebrations have revealed the beating heart of Sparta, its relentless pursuit of order, and its unwavering commitment to the greater good. Yet they have also exposed the city's vulnerability, its susceptibility to the seductive whispers of tyranny and the constant threat posed by the Helots. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows over the assembled Spartans, you find yourself on the cusp of understanding. You have witnessed the city's strength and its fears, its unwavering discipline, and its moments of doubt. You have seen the brutality of its customs and the humanity that binds its citizens together. Now, as the night deepens, you must decide how you will carry the burden of this knowledge. Will you embrace the Sparta's ethos, its commitment to order, and its celebration of courage? Or will you carry the torch for the helots, becoming a voice for the silenced and a champion for the oppressed? The choice, like so many in life, is yours to make.